I was like a really good player.
Just the appreciation of basketball at all levels.
Yeah, I'm a player. I feel like I just gotta get on the court. You know, I feel like if I get the opportunity to get on the court, that's where the name comes from. Everyday guys and the everyday conversations we have. Sorry. Welcome to episode 7 of Everyday Guy podcast. We have a special guest here, founder of Northway, Kayon Myers. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.
I mean, we were talking kind of off before we started recording, but the first question I would ask is, when we talked about Northway, right? We were talking about how we kind of got together through a mutual friend. He was telling me years ago, he was like, oh, I have a friend that is trying to start something in basketball. He wants to provide a platform where he can promote kids, promote players, whatever. So how did you come about doing Northway?
Just to be completely honest, so like I used to play, and then during COVID, like when everything was shut down, we had like these runs outside.
Yeah.
And like the Northway was previously a clothing line from when we were in high school. Like
Right.
it was extremely popular, but we kind of took a step back from it.
Right.
And then we'd have these outdoor runs during COVID to the point where like Eugene from the Wizards was coming to play outside at Ontario Place and where we're from. So we're like, oh, okay, this is something. So we informally just scrapped some money together, like rented a gym, and then had like a little pro-am, and like a bunch of pros and local college guys and even Eugene came and played. So I was like, oh, okay, like there's a need in the basketball world somehow. So that's pretty much how we got our feet wet. And then like from releasing content there and throughout the year, I didn't know how scouting worked. Like even though I used to play, like I didn't even know how it worked. So like we would just put content on social media and be like, oh, this kid's nice. Like just, oh, this is what Slam does. This looks cool. Okay, Kentucky's following. West Virginia, Buffalo. And I'm like, oh, these guys take me seriously? So I'm like, okay. So I messaged one of my friends. He started Crown Magazine. And I'm like, yo, how does this work?
Yeah.
And then he started breaking down everything, and he kind of gave me like a blueprint, like, oh, this is a real thing. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I guess I'll just jump into this.
So so it wasn't something that you planned out. Okay, there's a clear picture of this is what I wanted to do. You kind of stumbled onto it.
Yeah. I stumbled onto it because like, I felt like I wanted to work in basketball, and I'm like, but what do you do and how do you even go about doing that? Like, so I'm like, I was listening to a bunch of Gary Vee, and he's like, just do something. And like, it just happened.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But I think, yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, so I was gonna ask, basically, you know, I think a big part of scouting and being a good scout is obviously, you know, having a good reputation and people taking your word or what you say and the people you scout. So for you, who you said you didn't see yourself in this space and it just kind of happened, what does it take to kind of build up that credibility? Is it just like you said, accounts following you and you just like gaining a social media presence, or how do people start trusting, you know, the scouting reports you're putting out?
To this day, bro, it's hard to believe like these schools are following me. I just try to tell the truth and be as transparent as possible online. I don't believe in like biases or favoritism. So if like this person may not be ranked or one of the top players, but I'll like say something about him, and then every day, like, or a couple times a week, I'm seeing this school's following. So I guess from my experience, I'd say it's just from being transparent and telling the truth.
Wow. It must feel kind of surreal though, like that. Okay, like all of a sudden, a dude from University of, I don't know, Buffalo. Like the guy knows me. The head coach who's making X amount of money.
Yeah.
Knows me and like listens to me.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel too.
Yeah.
Like compared to, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, right? Now I'm talking to the head coach of a program in Division 1.
Yeah.
and I feel like I still feel like a nobody.
Yeah.
But you know, and then this guy's like actually listening to my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you feel that way too a little bit.
Exactly the same way. I still don't think I'm like anything important. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Man, and like the fact that they're listening to my opinion is just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I guess something that you just mentioned, like just being truthful and transparent. People do tend to listen to you then, right?
Yeah.
There are people that I'm not gonna mention names, but people in Canada in basketball that just tries to push any kid that they see. Like 50 kids, 60 kids, like you're just putting it on social media being like, oh, this guy's got that, guy's got that. Like, man, you just lose credibility, man. You just lose credibility and nobody will listen to you at the end. Right? But I think it almost feels like those people want to grab attention. They want to be friends with every kid. They want to be friends with every player, parent, whoever it is, and then they just want to grow their following. But I just think that like that type of action has expiration date, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. I totally agree.
I guess like go ahead.
What kind of work goes into maintaining relationships with these college coaches? Are you mostly dealing with kind of front end stuff of recruiting players and scouting them, or are you constantly maintaining the relationships with the college coaches and kind of trying to grow your network? And how do you grow your network? You know,
I think all of that's organic when you're coming from a place of like just trying to be genuine. Like, if we're being honest, like I'm not gonna text you on a Tuesday night like, hey, how are you doing? Like this, our relationship is based on basketball, so I'm not gonna message you unless I'm providing with value, something worth your time. I know how busy they are, so like this whole notion of like maintaining relationships is like disingenuous to me. So I just try and be myself, and then like as far as building the network, I think that comes from like going to places and then like just being present online with providing value consistently. And then I've never been one guy to ask, but like basketball has allowed me to build a lot of cool relationships. So I've recently started tapping into like a lot of the friends like who may have played like Division 1 or pro or some sort of like position in the NBA or overseas. And like that's really helped me a lot too, because like they obviously are credible enough. If they put your name in a place, it means something. Yeah.
All right. We got a bunch of players now, like compared to, man, I was having this conversation with a friend, like compared to 8-9 years ago, the amount of basketball players that we have in Canada, I think has grown like so much. I think don't we? It is the #1 sport in Canada now. I feel like back then it was hockey.
Yeah.
Now I see more kids playing basketball than ever. Right. So with the amount of players that you see, because I see you at the games all the time too. Like, how do you? What are the things that you look for in players and be like, okay, this guy can play?
So for me, like I go by like the eye test.
Yeah.
And I think it's more than just like being a good athlete. Like, so for instance, the first time I saw like Taj play, and no one was really talking about him, Taj, who went to Pepperdine. I was like, yo, he's easily one of the best point guards in Canada, because like, again, just growing up around high level basketball, I'm like, you remind me of Tyler Enos, because your pace, like that's a mature pace. A lot of guys don't get that until they get to college.
Right.
You're playing the game at your own pace. You're making great passes with either hand, and you have a high IQ. So I look for more of that stuff, because it's obvious. You come in the gym, like you see Deshae, like, oh, he's 6'8", 6'9", whatever he is, long wingspan, athletic. They're gonna take him because he moves really well. Like that's common sense. But like, I think the guys who are like Taj are harder to find because they're not as physically dominant.
Right, but they know how to play.
Yeah, and that translates anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Deshae's a high-level talent, like I think, and you could teach him and train him and develop him. But Taj, he could contribute right now because he can run and make every read out of the pick and roll. He can shoot the ball. that's all they do at the next level. You can defend. So
I guess as a coach, like, and this whole scouting part,
yeah,
I feel the scouting game has grown too.
yes, it has.
Whereas a few years back, the people who were doing the scouting, like other than guys like Wes Brown, you know, regarded as one of the top scouts and whatnot, other than guys like that, a few years back when people started getting into this business of scouting, like I was so frustrated with those guys because I was like, man, like some of you don't really watch basketball. Like you just look at the dunks and be like, oh, that guy's a good player.
Yeah.
That guy, put him on the highlight and be like, oh, this is the next one up because he can really, really dunk.
Yeah.
When he can't shoot at all, he can't read, he doesn't have the IQ to play at the high level. And nowadays, when I look at guys who do the scouting, I feel like yourself, they talk about more of the game and how they read the game and how, you know, their IQ is going to translate to the next level.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So it is kind of refreshing to see because I do feel like compared to the basketball scene in the States, we didn't have a lot of that scouting presence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The attention.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
So I don't know if it's because I guess Canada is still like a smaller scale in a way than the States, but I do feel like this scouting game is growing, and obviously there's gonna be guys that don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. But then I feel that those people just at the end, 2-3 years, they're just gonna stop doing what they do. Right. So I guess the next my follow-up question to that is, how do you think you're gonna have longevity, right? Like, because certain guys do it for a long time, but certain guys, as you know, that just flame out.
Yeah. I think just being consistent and trying to be a person of integrity, trying to build relationships, just giving it my best, because like you can get caught up trying to please everyone and then you lose yourself, or you could like do too little.
Yeah.
Right. So you could be very worried about perception, social media, you know, politics, all that stuff plays a role nowadays. But I just try and like focus on serving people, because it's like we're not that important. If there's no kids playing, we don't matter.
Right.
So to have an ego is weird.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you only matter because the kids are playing.
Yeah.
So I just try and stay focused on like service.
Right. But has there been...
Go ahead, Nicola.
So it's a good perspective. I think a lot of times, like you said, scouts lose the understanding that they're able to do what they do because of the kids playing the hoops. And I think your mindset to where you seem like you do this out of service for the kids, I think goes a long way. And that genuine approach could definitely take you far. Things keep progressing upward.
No, thanks a lot, man.
But I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic here, but we're talking about service to kids.
Yeah.
Has there been like, I guess the dilemma of, okay, I really like the kid as a person, as a student, as whoever they are, and then you see them play, and then they suck.
Oh yeah, so there's a guy from you know,
okay,
I was helping, because I'm like, I like underdogs, and I'm like, okay, if you're reaching out to me for a whole year, I'm like, all right, fine, I'll come, put you through some stuff, and then I'm just like, this is why you don't play. This is why you only have this. Your work ethic, you're about the wrong things. The way you even came in the gym, and I'm just like, So it's hard because like I'm learning that there's certain kids, when they're at a certain point, like you can't really help them, right? Because it's like it's too late.
Yeah.
And then more importantly, again, just being around these guys, like it's weird, but it makes sense. The best players I've been around, my little brother played with RJ Barrett. I grew up playing at the YMCA, Dylan Brooks, Nas Long, all those guys. We all grew up together in a sense. And it's like why are they good? Why did they make it far? Because they're coachable.
Yeah.
They will come. I've seen them come into a gym with like, not just David. Like David's credible, but I'm saying like there'd be like a random guy in the gym, and this coach who's not really known, and they're putting them through a workout, and they're listening.
Yeah.
Well, most kids would be like, "Who are you?"
Right.
And I'm just like, wow, okay, that's the difference. Because like the high level guys, they always are like good. Most of the time, I've seen like our high character players.
No, they wanna get better.
Yeah.
Right. Like some of the guys that I train, for example, that are higher level guys, they had other trainers, and then the thing that they didn't like about those trainers was that they weren't really telling the truth. They weren't like telling you to go faster, go work harder.
Yeah.
They were just, oh, you're an NBA guy, you're whatever, you're a pro guy, so I'm just gonna kind of do what you like to do.
Yeah.
Right. But then at the same time, these guys want to learn too. Right. Whoever it is, obviously the person who's training them, coaching them has to have some type of credibility and has some type of work ethic for them to listen to you. But at the same time, they all want to learn. Yeah. They all want to learn. Look at him, for example. This guy played at Notre Dame, and he's being trained by a guy who never played.
Yeah, that says a lot. That's human. That's why he's far, though. That's why he is where he is. It's the difference.
Frankly, to what you said, it just brought me back to, obviously Ray is my one and only trainer now, but I mean, when I was younger, I would get with any trainer I could, no matter their level of expertise. And it wasn't frankly because I didn't think one trainer was good enough for me. It's just because I wanted to absorb as much knowledge as I possibly could. So I think sometimes that gets, now it's different that I'm older, I'm a pro, I've worked with Ray, the familiarity is there. But like you said, certain guys who make it to a pro level, whatever that case may be, share qualities that they have to have, and one of those is willing to absorb knowledge, even if you don't necessarily agree with it, but just being willing to to listen and see what other people have to say to help your game.
That's amazing, man. That makes sense.
And I think that's the thing a lot of kids struggle with. Right? They think they know it all.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of them think they know it all.
Yeah.
So it's like, but at the same time, I think it's our job, like adults' job, to make them understand these are the things that you have to do and help them buy in. But I do think that a lot of coaches and a lot of trainers do struggle with that, right? Because the kids are, I would say the kids are, a lot of them are delusional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are more educated about basketball and about training, about playing, more than a few years back, because they have more resources now to like look at stuff online and be like, oh, that's how the guy's being coached. Maybe like I should have a coach like that too. So it's a tricky one, man. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I had one follow-up question. It's interesting to what you said before, where you try a lot to help out certain guys who may be underdogs and they turn out not to be players. My question is, you see in the movies, a high school prospect hears that a college scout is coming to watch their game. They play terrible. All of a sudden, their chances of going to that school done. Yeah. My thing is, how in depth are these reviews that you have of players, and do you think after a game you can really gauge a guy well, or do you sometimes come back and watch a guy, or like how does that process go? Do you always kind of just watch once and make up your mind, or do you like to follow up and basically see if you came to just a bad game, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I think personally for me, I could tell, like, as a player, like, as if you're gonna play, like, there's certain things you gotta pick up on quick or you're gonna get cooked. So like a good game to me is like, oh, did he drop 20? No, that's not a good game to me. You can affect the game in different ways. The reads you make, your effort, your body language, all that stuff matters, because it's like, no disrespect, if you're playing in Canada, the likelihood of you going to the States to a big school and being the go-to guy is very low.
Right away.
Unless you're playing at like Montverde or something. Like they're not running their offense through you. So I got to see things that, like Deshae, like he's not going to score all the time, but he can rebound, he can defend, he's long, his effort's there from what I've seen. Like Dom, like he's gonna go somewhere, and he at some point they might run the offense to him.
Yeah.
Because he has all those abilities.
Yeah.
But like, it's the guys who are like more like less main guys, but they can affect winning. Like you see, like one game. Like I feel like you need one game to see, in my opinion, like how they affect winning. And I will go back and watch multiple games, but like affecting winning is like that translates anywhere.
I think that's the right way to go about it. So I started off at Saltfleet, which was my high school in Hamilton, where my house was next to, and then I went to Athletic Institute my grade 13 year, and the coach who recruited me, the head coach Brandon Lazowski, he came to one of my high school games where I scored 0 points, and that was the only game he watched me play live. And he said a good thing to me, which I want to see if you agree with. But he said a great way to scout a player and a great kind of way to assess their abilities is coming to a bad offensive game. Because there you're able to see what kind of impact it has on their mental side when the ball isn't going, because he knows, I mean, that I can score the ball. So he comes to this game where I can't score for whatever reason. Like you said, is my body language good? Am I picking up my teammates? Am I doing the other things to help the team win? Or am I completely caught in the mindset of, I'm not scoring, I'm going to shut down?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you agree, but I think coming to bad games can give you just as much information as coming to a good game.
That's a fact. I agree with you. Yeah.
I recently, so we started our prep season 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like we started training last week, but officially school started 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our first like exercise in the classroom. I had all of them together and gave them a piece of paper and a pen, and I was like, okay, you're gonna write down, you're not gonna write your name, but you're gonna write down the minutes, points, rebounds, and assists, basically a stat line that you think you can have and also you want to have at the end of the season. So I think it was like a room full of like 11 kids maybe.
Yeah,
11 kids. And then at the end I just collected all of it, and then because there's no names, right?
Yeah,
I'm just reading down the minutes, points, assists for every single person.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing it down on the whiteboard. It's like 30 minutes, 18 points, 32 minutes, 17 points, 30 minutes, 15 points. Everything is 25 to 30 minutes. And then at the end, you look at the minutes, you go, it's like 281 minutes, right? In total. And I'm like, guys, how many minutes are in a game? In a FIBA game, they're like, yeah, 200. I'm like, so that shit isn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have 281 minutes. And the points, it was like 162 points.
Yeah.
Right? Guys, we're gonna score probably between 70 to 85, 90.
Yeah.
172 or 162, whatever, that is not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about, okay, when I can tell that you guys are thinking about scoring so much. It's really about, what do you do when you're not scoring? When you're having a bad game, like how do you still influence the game? Like you talked about, how do I still influence my team in a way that we can win, right? I can contribute to winning, right? But I think that's something that a lot of kids have a different idea about, is that, man, I need to score, I need to do this, I need to do that. But that's also, I can also kind of blame it on, I know you're obviously in the social media area as well, but nobody really does care about those like high IQ plays. Right? Like it's just about scoring, and this guy had 30, this guy had 40. This guy, this is why it's challenging to coach like young athletes, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays is because they focus on the wrong things. So when you talk to players, that are asking you for advice, what is like the general thing that you say to these kids about, okay, this is how you get recruited?
Yeah, I'd say do 2 or 3, like, okay, two things at a high level that affect winning.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sorry, like, unless you're at Montverde, they're not running the offense through you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different level over there. So unless you're on, like, the EYBL prep circuit, like, those type of circuits, those are the guys, the national ranked guys, like, they're going to get 20 shots a game. So if you go to D1, how are you going to be able to affect winning? Can you make? Can you make reads? Can you defend? Can you rebound? Like, and they think, like, I'm like, no, for real. Like,
Yeah.
that's what they're going to recruit you for. If you've seen, like, for instance, like, way back when, like, Troy Knights Reed, he went D1, like,
yeah,
he was not dropping 30 a game.
No.
But for that EYBL team with Andrew Wiggins, he was picking up guys full court.
Yeah.
He got offer off of that.
Yeah.
Deshaun Pierre, too, he wasn't the number one option on that team.
Yeah.
But his effort and his defense got him to Dayton, and that got him high level overseas.
Yeah, there's always a need for guys like that, right? There's more needs for guys like that than guys who have 30-point scoring nights. Right? There's only a couple guys, man, in college basketball, who's averaging 30 points, man? Nobody.
Yeah.
Who's averaging 25?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys are averaging 20 points.
Yep. That's true.
Right? So it's likely that on a college team, your highest scoring guy is probably around 15 points, right? So you're definitely not looking for a 20-point guy, definitely not 30-point guy. So, okay, you have a couple guys who average around, let's say, 13 to 17 points. The rest on the roster are guys that are going to rebound, play defense, and then maybe after a couple years when they're juniors and seniors, yeah, maybe they can be the guys that score 15 to 17 points. Maybe. But it's just not having the patience to really, wait and then go for that, right?
It's hard. I get it. It takes a certain type of, like, humility, and it's hard. Like, who doesn't want to be the man?
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
When you say these things to these recruits, when you drop knowledge and shatter their expectations, but you bring them back down to reality and you let them know what they need to succeed. Do you think they grasp it? Do you think they kind of take it offensively? Like, how do you think they respond? Do you actually think they absorb the information and try and implement it into their games?
I say 90% of guys take it the wrong way, to be honest, because there's no other way to put it. There's a bit of a delusion because they don't understand what's out there. That's another thing. Like, they don't understand, like, what's over there. Like, those guys are different. Like, this is their life. They're not going to the party on Friday night, spending time social media, playing video. Like, that's their life. Like, there's nothing else they do. Like, so how are you gonna, a kid who's putting in 4 to 8 hours a day, how are you gonna compete with him?
Yeah, right. I think they don't know what they don't know.
Oh, they don't. Like,
right, they don't know what they don't know. Like, and it's like we're living in Canada. We think, a lot of us do think, yeah, Canadian basketball is getting better. But compared to what they do in the States, it's not close.
No, it's not.
As a country, it's not close.
No, that's the word. As a country, there's anomalies, like, and they're obsessed.
Yeah.
Like Jamal Murray, like the stories you hear about him at Orangeville. Like, I have a friend who played with him.
Did you play with Jamal?
He left just as I came, but I played with him when I was younger.
Okay, yeah,
I heard about him putting up like 500 makes a day, form shooting on his knees all the way to half court. Even, like, I grew up with Nick Stauskas. Like, he was good growing up. Then it got to a point where it's like he got so good, like, it's not even close. Like, he's shooting 500 makes twice a day. That's 1,000 makes a day. How are you competing with that?
Yeah.
What do you think needs to shift in the Canadian basketball landscape, and can it shift to be able to compete with America, or is it just the sheer size and amount of people? We won't ever be there.
I think I think we're getting there, but I think it comes down to, they have way more people, so it's hard to really, like, compare. They're gonna have more generational talent just because they have way more people, and then I think as a whole we've gotten better. Most of the good teams across the board teach the right things, like, if you go to certain programs, prep programs, you're gonna be able to play at the next level and affect winning, right? So I think it's gotten better as a whole.
No, I think. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know how to quite get over the hump in that regard where I'm sure, like I said, you guys are both in the social media space, and a lot of what you do is based through social media, where I think it's just so difficult to shape a generation of basketball if they value things that won't necessarily help them. The mixtapes, you know,
Yeah.
the one-on-one players, and it's how do programs, scouting services, and things that you guys run, how do those get to the top and become the most important versus, you know, the programs that might just sell kids pipe dreams and grasp, you know, I don't know. It's a tough situation, I feel.
Yeah, no, it's tough, but it's gotta keep your head down and really like what's for you is for you. I try not to like compare myself to anyone else or look at what anyone else is doing because it's a distraction, really. It's like, oh, why is this person doing this, or they have this, or do like if you stay true to what you're doing, like you're gonna get to where you're going. It may look different, it may be better, it might not be better, but whatever it is, you know, as long as you're putting your best foot forward, I think that's all you can control, really.
I think the problem is like it's too watered down, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's way too watered down. Like there's a lot of basketball players out there, and there are some good ones too, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are some really, really bad ones.
Yeah.
And now we have teams and prep teams that actually cater to those bad players.
Yeah. The business side of things.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at it, even if you look at the AU side, so in Canada, there's an Under Armour circuit team that has been doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Nike circuit team. I think, so there was a couple Adidas circuit teams.
Yeah.
I think it's one now.
I don't even know.
Right? So we have circuit teams. And then there's like now Puma teams, and these like, these people are using these shoe circuits as a way to grab kids.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually compare the talent level of Ontario basketball, like players in Ontario versus, let's say, a state of Georgia.
Oh boy,
it's not close.
Yeah, that's crazy to think.
It's not close. But
that's crazy to think.
I'm sure Georgia has the same amount of true circuit teams as Ontario.
Yeah.
Right? And now these shoe circuit teams are fighting over kids when we don't have that much talent. Like when we do have good amount of talent, but like compared to some of these states in America, I don't think it's close.
Yeah, no, you hit it right in the head. I didn't think about it like that, and that's a great perspective.
Right? Like, and we talk about record number. I think it was like a record number of Canadian kids going to Division I this year, actually.
Yeah.
From high school. I think it was like 44 or 50, something like that.
Yeah.
How many of them went from Canada? Like, how many of them graduated from a Canadian school to the States?
No, you're right.
Obviously, we have programs like Fort Erie that's you know, definitely one of the top prep programs out there. I think they had like six Division I commits.
Mm-hmm.
Them, and then we had some as well.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people from Ontario actually went to Division I. A lot of them they were going down in the prep school in the South, right?
Yeah.
So I think I do think we're, you know, overrating it a little bit, right? The for sure has gone better. I'm not denying that, but I do think we're at a stage where kind of like overrating it, and these other prep programs are looking at the number of kids that are going down to the States and be like, oh, like I can start something too and then cater these kids. But I don't know if it's a good thing long run.
Yeah. No, there's a couple. I would say I always tell kids the truth. In my personal opinion, there's a couple good prep programs.
Yeah.
And I think they got to do their research and their parents. But there's a lot of times now, they're so like even their parents are focused on the shiny thing. Like there's a kid like the other day, he's like, hey, can you speak to my cousin? He's playing in a prep school right now. He's like, he's in the States. And he's like, my cousin wants to go to X school where they're saying he has to pay $22,000. And I was like, okay, they don't want you. You are a check. Like, but his parents are like, nah, you're running from the, the good players and da-da. It's like, if we had 22,000 growing up to put into training, look what you did without these. You had 1 year of AI. So if you had $22,000 amongst your 5 years of high school, what would you, right? Because you got Notre Dame with nothing. Like, that's a big deal. And kids don't understand that, right?
Bro, I know a kid that, I'm not going to mention his name, obviously. I know a kid that paid around just under 20 grand in grade 10.
Wow.
For prep. He didn't like the situation. So when he went to the next one, I think he paid just around like $38,000.
Oh.
$38,000.
Oh my God.
This is a kid in Canada. And then grade 12 season, he's paying around, I think, around 50 to 55 with board.
Oh, my chest.
Grade 13, he's returning to the same school. So you're investing, what even is that? That's like $150,000. I think the kid is good enough to go to U Sport, and I think U Sport has gone better.
Yeah.
A lot, but you're investing that much money to go to a school in Canada. How do you explain that? Right? How do you explain that? And I guess if you can afford it, do it. But then like you could have also saved a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think it just highlights a lack of guidance honestly in the high school basketball world, where in his mind and probably his family's mind, because it's not his money, they think they're doing everything they possibly can to give their kid the best opportunity to go play at the highest level of basketball. And there's such a disconnect between what they think that money is for versus what it's actually for. And that brings me back to the whole state of this high school basketball, and like you said, it being watered down. There's just so many different traps that these kids can fall into, and if they don't have the proper guidance or the understanding of how it works, you get things like that. A kid funneling $100,000 before he even touches college. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah. No, that's insane, bro. That's a down payment on a house. Like, that's insane.
No, it's crazy. And you see, and what hurts me the most, and you and I talked about it, is these like top talents going down to the States.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think every year we have an opportunity to like grab these top talents and then have them stay in Canada, because I do think there are a number of prep programs in Canada that does it a lot better than majority of prep programs in the States.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking as far as coaching, as far as their development. I really believe that they do it better than some of these coaches in the States.
Yeah, yeah.
But it still hurts me to see these guys, and I run a prep program myself too, but it's not about getting those guys to my school, but I'm talking like, it hurts me to see these top talents they just say, oh, screw Canada, I'm going down to the States. Even though there are some really, really good schools here.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Like, I guess that was something that you and I talked about.
Yeah.
It's like, why are kids leaving?
Yeah, I think the top kids, it makes sense. Like, there are a couple schools, but like, for instance, like, if IMG offers me, I'm gone. Like, if Montverde offers me, I'm gone. I'm sorry. You guys just can't compete. So it's like, that makes sense to me. But it's like, if it's like when I have a problem when these kids go to schools that's like, oh, this is something.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you going to so-and-so school? What's their track record of recruiting, of development? Well, it's in the States, and I played in the States, and I'm like, so you're gonna just come back home after, like,
Yeah.
and you see that happening a lot too, like, so I think it has to be worth it. If you're not going to like one of those, in my opinion, like if I had a kid, I'm like, if you're not going to one of those top programs, like you could just stay home.
Yeah.
You see the same thing at the collegiate level. My graduating class, there's only a few of us still playing pro, and yet a lot of us went Division 1. Where in my opinion, a lot of guys picked the wrong school at a low to mid major NCAA level when they would have fared much better at a CIS or U Sport. And like you said with the high school scene, you know, American prep over Canadian prep, it's the same deal. Some kid, and it's doing it for the wrong reasons. Some kids just want the label of being a Division 1 player,
Yeah.
and not actually thinking about what would be the best for them in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure you see that in scouting all the time, where you see a kid as more of a, you know, on that fringe U Sport to low mid major, and they probably all want to go Division 1.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I could think of it right now, but it's like I don't think they know what's out there, and there's nothing wrong with playing U Sports. Like they act like it's such a D grade. Like Philip Scrub is making 6 figures a year, Johnny Brahane, Caleb Agata. So, oh, you're not making, like, they have a job playing basketball after college. You know how hard that is?
Yeah.
Like, that's hard. Go dominate here, be the big fish.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know?
Nicola knows how hard it is.
Yeah, of course.
Like you said, it's just a lack of understanding what it takes, and at that U Sport level, there are more and more success stories, and there will continue to be more and more success stories because, like you said, being a big fish in a small pond sometimes can be much better in building confidence, developing your skills. The overseas market cares much less about where you went to school and what you can, like, it's a thing that I don't think many people get, where in overseas, whether you meant low mid, if you were a stud on a high major team, yeah, you're starting off very well overseas. But if you're one of the 90% of other players, whether or not you produced and at what level, you're all going to start around the same. And then it just goes down to what you can do as a player. Whether you did that in U Sport or low to mid major, it's gonna be who can produce.
Yeah, man. I also think even like some college players are like not privy to that, to what you're speaking about. Because like a guy like you're playing high level pro A, pro B. Like guys will go to so and so overseas, and I'm like, yo, how was that? Yeah, I'm in my 3rd year and I'm making like 1,000 or 2,000 a month, and I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, bro, that's not it. Because they didn't take the time to put in the work early like you did, right? So you set yourself up to get to a good league and then have a real career and pay your bills. So guys don't understand, like, even at that college level, like, they don't understand what goes into what he's doing.
This is getting a little off topic, but for that, what you just explained, a big part of that is having good agents and good people around you that can properly guide your career in a way where you can take, you know, exponential growth year to year. Because like you said, it's not a glamorous job, especially in the start. And you really need to have a plan to grow it in a way where you can make some good money out of it. And a lot of times there's a lack of knowledge at the high school level, there's a lack of knowledge at the college level, and there sure as hell is a lack of knowledge at the professional level. So it's something that no matter what level you're playing at, there's always in the basketball world people who really don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
I guess to wrap it up, what's your plan for Northway? What's your plan for you? Is there anything you want to plug?
The plan now is just to continue building credibility, to helping people to be more present, build more connections, and just scale.
Yeah.
Because if we could scale, we could help more people, right? And then just giving the right information. Because I feel like you said, like there's not a lot of resources, and some people are ignorant, but there are people who genuinely don't know.
Right.
Like they're being pulled and taken advantage of, and it's like you talk to them and then they tell you what's going on. And they're like, oh, I genuinely didn't know. I just want the best for my child. So just providing those resources, having guys like yourselves talk to these people, give game. Like if we could create some type of, and that's another problem I have, but we need to fix that. There's not enough community here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of politics or what, but if you go to like LA or Seattle, like Jason Terry helped Brandon Roy helped whoever, so on. So like it just goes on and goes, like guys like you, like you're coaching, so you're doing your job. But I feel like more guys who actually have done what you've done, like come back and like let's give game to the next generation.
Right.
Okay, that was good.
My one last question I had was, you were someone who didn't have scouting in mind, didn't necessarily want to go into it, just kind of happened and it did. And you obviously you still want to grow and make strides, but you know you're in it. What is the one piece of advice you could give to someone who would want to start, let's say, get into scouting or anything new that they're unfamiliar with? Like, what's the main recipe to being successful?
I think just jumping in it head first, because action, it just creates reactions, right? If I didn't tweet, if I didn't ask my friends, if I didn't take the initiative to do that, then I wouldn't be able to do this, right? So I think just taking action.
All right.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming, man.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for coming. We'll talk again. Nicola, we'll talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.